This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Wrong. There it is. Hi, everybody. It is the After Party Live. We're getting a little bit of a late start because the Mark Thompson show ended a little late as well. But here we are, ready to rock and roll. Thank you for your patience and thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show like you do. Jim Slayton, $5 super sticker right out of the gate. So appreciate it. Thank you so much. Wes coming in with a $5 super sticker as well. Huge thank you to Wes. Wes, who had a big birthday over the weekend. I hope it was a really good birthday for you. I was thinking about you on your birthday and saw all the Facebook messages come through, but I hope it was a really good day. Happy belated birthday. Happy day after. 2 days after. Okay, let's get right to some stories. Otherwise, we'll have time for nothing today. And I want to make sure that we talk about some of the things that are going on in the world. First of all, the supermoon. Now, we're talking to recently to Andrew Fracknoy, who's an astronomy professor. Love him so much. And I asked him about this, and he goes, really, the only thing a supermoon is it's a full moon. And it just happens more than once in the same month. But it's supposed to be a big thing because there are 4 of these supermoons happening. It's a rare, they call it a supermoon blue moon. And today was the first of 4 upcoming supermoons. So for people who want to go out and catch a beautiful moon, catch a full moon, look in the sky, it'll seem a little low perhaps. This is what's happening. One of 4 supermoons on tap. The supermoon event will start at 2:26 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and it will last for 3 days. This according to NASA. So they define a supermoon as a new or full moon that occurs when the moon is within 90% of its closest approach to Earth. These full moons tend to be spectacular sights because they're the biggest, brightest full moons of the year. So maybe it's not an astronomical event that would warrant Professor Fracknoy's attention, but for me, going out to see a big full moon, that's always kind of a pretty sight. The supermoon blue moon event, the first of 4 consecutive supermoons during the remainder of this year. So there are more upcoming full moons September 17th, October 17th, and on November 15th. The moon will be the closest to the Earth during the Hunter's Moon supermoon. That one is the October 17th event. Now, even though they call it a blue moon, it's not actually blue. It's called a blue moon because it describes the second full moon in a month with 2 such events. But it's supposed to be a sight to see, so I'm letting you know that it's going to happen, and tonight is the night to go out and check it out. Okay, we talked about it a little bit on the Mark Thompson show, but I want to go into a little bit more depth about the Poltergeist house. Yeah. It looks like a nice house, nice walkway, looks welcoming. I've seen Wes post about this a couple times as well. It is for sale, the Poltergeist house. Would you want to live here? It's on the market for the first time in 45 years. This is in Simi Valley. They filmed it in 1982. It's a 2,300 square foot detached single family home on Roxbury Street. Price? 1.17 mil. So typical California single family home, right? They say it's well loved by its original owners, ready to welcome a new family without the ghostly antics. That's what the real estate agent writes. No spirits reside here. It's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath home. They need some more bathrooms in there. 3-car garage, a jacuzzi. It has a swimming pool. Yeah. The lot is huge. It's 16,000 square foot lot. They say it's the largest lot in this neighborhood. The house is clean. That they say is a line from the movie. This house is clean. The movie in the movie, this house was home to a malevolent spirit that abducted the family's 5-year-old daughter. One of the really creepiest, most successful, most remembered horror movies of all time. They say this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to live in a home minus the spooks. Here's the house in the movie. Look at that. I don't think I'm ever wanting to live in this house. I'm sure the family that lived there had a lovely experience, but first of all, ew, creepy. Second of all, can you imagine the traffic of people coming by looking at your house? Oh, look, there's the Poltergeist house. It's like you live in a tourist attraction. So I don't know. I don't think so. Nope. Go into the chat. What do you guys think? Are you into it? No. Wes says it also gets sucked into the ground in the movie and it was gone. Trevor says it looks like my parents' house did. Oh, wow. Karen did not like this movie. It said it was a really bad movie. Ren says this is a great house to have on Halloween. Absolutely. Karen said they just used the exterior. No big deal. Okay, still. I'm going to bed late at night. I hear a noise. I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe not the house you want. Someone will buy it. It'll be great. Let's talk about animals. Look at this guy. This is a kangaroo. And apparently he had a bit of an issue stopping traffic in West Virginia. Not where you would think that you would see a loose kangaroo. Drivers were late to work. They were delayed by this kangaroo on the loose. It happened on Mud Fork Road in Verdonville, Logan County, Virginia. You wouldn't think that was heavily traveled, but one man says, I was driving to work. We had 5 cars in front of us that stopped in the middle of the road. Yeah, that's a real traffic jam in Virginia, apparently. He said, I was trying to look around and see what the holdup was, and then I saw a kangaroo hopping up the road. Of all things, what is a full-grown kangaroo running around on the streets? He said. Here's another picture of him. He was hopping all over the place, this one. Oh, people have these as pets, and then they get loose and it's wild, but so this man contacts a friend who was able to speak to the owners of this kangaroo. They say they've owned this pet kangaroo since it was a baby. It was safely returned to its home. The communications director for the West Virginia Department of Agriculture says kangaroos are legal to keep as pets in that state. It just doesn't seem right to me to do that, but okay. I mean, why not, right? They have a very, very cute new creature on display at a zoo in Queens. It's a little baby deer fawn. He's so tiny, tiny South American deer. And it just made its debut at this zoo in New York. This deer, even when it's fully grown, will only weigh as much as a watermelon. It's a southern poodoo fawn. The petite poodoo weighs 2 pounds, just under 1 kilogram. That's how much it weighed when it was born. The Wildlife Conservation Society, which runs the New York City zoos, said it's expected to weigh not more than 15 to 20 pounds in adulthood. This is the southern poodoo, and it's one of the world's smallest deer species. It's listed as near threatened by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. It is from Chile and Argentina, and that is where the population is decreasing because of factors including development and invasive species as well. So the zoo in Queens they've got a breeding program in cooperation with other zoos in the area to maintain genetically diverse populations. There so far have been 8 poodoo fawns born there since 2005. And here we go. So this one will share a habitat with its parents. There are 2 more poodoos at the Conservation Society's Prospect Park Zoo in Brooklyn. But how cute is that little one? Love it. I'm sorry to see that they're a threatened species, but I sure love how cute he is. So sweet. Used to read a book kids book to my son about how the world needs a hug, and the main character went on a trip and found across the world all these different animals, and one of them that he gave a hug to was a petite poodoo. Here's a really interesting story, and this one, it reminds me of, what is there, a story about a creature that is going to eat you, like an alligator, and a frog is on his back, and he promises not to eat the alligator or eat the frog. I'm getting it all wrong. But then he does, and he says, "'Cause that's my nature." Something like that, right? That's what this story reminds me of. This one is about this gator who gave a ride on his back to a snake. It's really interesting video. Check it out.
Snake on top of the gator.
You can see the snake riding along on the back of the alligator there. I mean, I don't, yeah.
On top of the gator.
Yeah. So interesting. Check it out. You can kind of see if you zoom in. I mean, I don't think this is something that you're going to see every day. This happened in, of course, Florida, where this man recorded a snake basically getting a ride. He was in the Big Cypress National Preserve when he captured the video of this snake riding on the back of a swimming alligator. His name is Bobby Ruiz. He took the video when he came across this whole buddy system. He said, "This is the most Florida thing you will ever see." He said the snake in the video was not a Burmese python, so he let it be. They have this big python culling contest called the Florida Python Challenge every year to curb the Burmese python population in 7 wilderness areas there. The top hunter gets a $10,000 prize. So this is what he sees when he's out and about on the python hunt. Kind of interesting. Let's talk about this story. It's a really interesting phenomenon. No one knows quite what to make of it. This strange object that backyard stargazers found. It was moving, they think, about 1 million miles an hour. It's an interstellar phenomenon that typically takes the resources of a high-tech observatory, very educated scientists, and very high-dollar research to see. But there were people working on NASA's Backyard Worlds Planet 9 project, and they helped discover this object moving so quickly that researchers say it defies the Milky Way's gravity and jettison into intergalactic space. It's a hypervelocity object, the first such object found with a mass similar to or less than that of a small star, according to NASA. They are really excited. According to a citizen scientist from Nuremberg, Germany, he said, "When I first saw how fast it was moving, I was convinced it must have been reported already." He's part of this Backyard Worlds team, which uses images from NASA's WISE, Wide Field Infrared Explorer. They are mapping the sky in infrared light. That was from 2009 to 2011. But in analyzing the data, they say they found this object streaking across the sky. It stands out for its low mass, making it difficult to classify as a celestial body. It might, they say, be best described as a brown dwarf. Backyard Worlds teams have discovered as many as 4,000 of those, but none of them traveling so fast that it slips the bonds of gravity and shoots off into intergalactic space. Pretty cool. Yeah, imagine that. You talk about Parkinson's. This reminds me of my friend Ron Owens and what he went through and how much he was helped by an implant in his brain to help control Parkinson's disease. And now a new study shows that there is a brain implant guided by AI now that could provide around-the-clock personalized care for people with Parkinson's disease. This implant, which is not the one that Ron Owens has, but a different one, uses AI to monitor a patient's brain activity for changes that can cause movement problems during the day and insomnia at night. This device spots troubling activity. It intervenes with precisely calibrated pulses of electricity called deep brain stimulation. So it creates what they say is a closed loop in which the symptoms of Parkinson's are continuously tamped down. And it allows people with Parkinson's to go about their daily lives. They did a study. They looked at the early clinical trials in 4 people, and they found that this implant reduced their most bothersome Parkinson's symptoms by 50%. This is all published Friday in the journal Nature Medicine. And researchers at UC San Francisco say this is the future of deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's disease. So it looks like perhaps Ron Owens got the first generation of this, and now here we are with more advances. The doctors involved say there's been a lot of interest in improving deep brain stimulation therapy by making it adaptive and self-regulating, but it's only been recently that the right tools and methods have been available to allow people to use this long-term in their homes. We know Parkinson's disease affects about 10 million people across the world. It happens because of the loss of dopamine-producing neurons in deep regions of the brain. Dopamine, a hormone that helps coordinate movement in the body. So as the dopamine levels start to decline, people start to develop problems with their movement. They have some tremors, some muscle stiffness, their balance is impaired, causing them to fall. And that, of course, leads to insomnia, also depression. And I know from Ron Owens that deep brain stimulation has been shown to reduce the amount of medication that people with Parkinson's need for their symptoms. But until now, they've been designed to provide this constant level of electrical stimulation rather than being able to adapt to a person's current symptoms. So this can cause symptoms to veer from one extreme to another. And that makes this, according to researchers, the biggest breakthrough in Parkinson's in more than a decade. So, pretty good. Love it. Anything that helps this horrible disease, I love it. Have you heard about the meat shower? Yeah. It happened many, many moons ago in the fine state of Kentucky. It was a meat shower, a story for the ages, happened in 1876. When I say meat shower, I mean meat falling from the sky. Happened in Bath County, and it's one of their most mysterious historical events, the Kentucky meat shower. They say it happened when a resident of Olympia Springs, Rebecca Crouch, was outside with her grandson, and chunks of red meat rained down from the sky. There's even a piece of it. They picked it up, put it in a bottle. There's a sample. So this preserved piece of what's believed to be the meat that fell from the sky was preserved at Transylvania University in Lexington, and the school returned the jar of flesh to Bath County to serve as the centerpiece for this museum exhibit. They did some DNA tests, though, on the preserved meat, and those were inconclusive, leading to multiple theories about the cause of this meat shower. One, there's a weather pattern where the winds pick up small fish and frogs, called an upspout, and then lay them down in another place. There's another, the vulture vomit. That's a theory that maybe it was a vomiting vulture in the area. But now you can learn all about the meat shower in this Kentucky museum. It's the Bath County Historical Museum, detailing this kind of horrific event that happened in March of 1876, and they are still talking about this thing today. Yes, they are. Can we talk about guts for a minute? Your guts. Gut antibiotics could be a thing. Human guts antibiotics might be the source of a powerful new antibiotic, the gut. The microbial space of the human gut now apparently revealing potential routes to new antibiotics. The scientists isolated molecules when they were studying the gut's microbiome, and those have yielded some unexpected results that, according to a study author, could lead to new types of antibiotics. This is a research associate. His name is Marcelo Torres in bioengineering at the University of Pennsylvania. He says, interestingly, these molecules have a different composition from what has traditionally been considered antimicrobial. The compounds they've discovered constitute a new class, and their unique properties, he thinks, will help the researchers understand and sequence the space of antimicrobials. Kind of interesting. Maybe, the human body will provide its own cure. Sometimes you ever just find yourself on Facebook or on a news website scrolling seemingly forever, perhaps. Well, there's a new study that shows scrolling through online videos increases your boredom. Zipping through online videos, they say, is not going to help you. Watching short snippets of videos or fast forwarding through them makes people more bored rather than less. This according to the results of 7 experiments involving more than 1,200 Americans and Canadians. Such, they call it digital switching, is really less satisfying than sticking with one video and watching it all the way through. This according to research done at the University of Toronto. The study authors say if people want a more enjoyable experience while they're watching videos, try to stay focused on the content and minimize digital switching. Like paying for a more immersive experience in a movie theater, more enjoyment comes from immersing oneself in online videos rather than swiping through them. Watching short videos on social media is now this social kind of common pastime. A lot of people spending more time on their phones. Study participants predicted they'd feel less bored by switching videos instead of watching them in their entirety. But people allowed to switch freely between 7 different videos within 10 minutes reported themselves more bored than when they watched a single 10-minute YouTube video all the way through. The participants found the longer viewing experience to be more satisfying, more engaging, more meaningful than just flipping through a number of videos. So you go, Participants reported similar results when they watched a 10-minute video rather than fast-forwarding or rewinding through a 50-minute video for 10 minutes. Details on this published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology General. And the authors say digital switching may make the content of online videos seem meaningless because people don't have time to really engage with or understand the content. And I find that when I post short videos on YouTube as well, which do get a lot of attention, sometimes I'm not able to tell the whole story. I can't tell you sometimes where the research happened. I don't have time to include where it was published. There's all these little factoids that I'm not able to put in. The findings of this study, according to the study authors, add to mounting evidence that smartphone use actually increases boredom and undermines enjoyment in social situations. So, more bored, not less bored. There you go. There is a new at-home test for syphilis. I know we don't talk politics on this show, but I think maybe they should give it to Donald Trump because his mind seems to be going. But this at-home syphilis test is the first ever over-the-counter test for syphilis. It was approved on Friday by the FDA. There are surging levels of this sexually transmitted disease across America. So, Now there is this test. It's called First to Know Syphilis Test, made by Now Diagnostics of Springdale, Arizona. And they say it's the first at-home test to detect Treponema pallidum, or syphilis, antibodies in human blood. They say the results from this home test alone are not sufficient to accurately diagnose a syphilis infection. So if you do test positive with the at-home test, you have to go immediately to the doctors, get a test done by medical professionals. But it does mark a significant milestone, they say, in the detection and the treatment of STDs as these cases really rise across America. The thinking is that access to home tests could help increase initial screening rates. Initial screening rates for syphilis, including people who may be very reluctant to go to the doctor and see their healthcare provider about a possible sexually transmitted infection or exposure of it. Maybe they're embarrassed, this type of thing. That can lead to increased lab testing to confirm diagnoses, which can result in increased treatment and the reduction of the spread of the infection. And what we know about syphilis is it can seriously damage your heart, your brain, cause blindness, deafness, paralysis if it's left untreated. And when it's transmitted during pregnancy, can cause miscarriage, lifelong medical issues. It's one of the most serious of the sexually transmitted diseases, and sadly, it's now seeing this major resurgence. CDC said syphilis cases increased 80% between 2018 and 2022, jumping from 115,000 to more than 207,000. They say it's the highest level since the 1950s. It's so concerning that the Department of Health and Human Services had to set up the National Syphilis and Congenital Syphilis Syndemic Federal Task Force to address the issue. The Health and Human Services Secretary, Javier Becerra, is calling the syphilis crisis in our country unacceptable. So, now we have the over-the-counter syphilis test. And I mean, at least it lets you know, hey, time to go to the doctor. You can't leave this untreated, right? Yeah. Good to have it. Have all the tools that you need, right? This might be something to help you pass the time, speaking of boredom. It's a new engineering feat called medieval music. Teenage Engineering is the company, and they're releasing what they say is the world's first medieval electronic instrument. This Swedish company has developed a beat machine that allows users to create their own medieval-style music by combining samples of lutes, hurdy-gurdies, and rowdy peasants as well. It's got a unique range of sounds and styling, inspired by the Middle Ages. Yeah. The tool, the EP1320, is described as the world's first medieval electronic instrument featuring a large library of phrases, play-ready instruments, and one-shot samples from an age where darkness reigned supreme. The Instrumentalis Electroniconium is the ultimate and only medieval beat machine, according to this company. Among the live recorded instruments that can be played using either the device's pads or an external keyboard are the bagpipes, flutes, trumpets, string instruments like the citole, the bowed harp, and the hurdy-gurdy. The beats provided by various drums and percussion instruments can also be layered with sound effects, including chain rattles, clashing swords, horse hooves, farm animals, rowdy peasants, 2 different witches, and a dragon. They say it's the ability to create music on the go by sampling tracks or instruments using this built-in microphone as well. It's got a layout, they say, similar to their other sampling machines, but it employs script-style fonts, you can see here. Even the 3 and the 8 look interesting. They're They say it's playful, ye olde graphics in keeping with the medieval theme. Again, the company is Teenage Engineering. They have a quilted carrier bag for this gadget. They have all the buttons on the gadget featuring Latin and the name Instrumentalis Electronicum. Instead of sampler composer, they have different names for it. So, it's kind of a kitschy thing. It has 96 megabytes of hardwired sounds, 32 megabytes of additional storage so you can record whatever you've sampled and created. 9 demo songs, including tracks entitled Rock de Fête, Banquet of Fools, and Harvest Dance, can be used as a backdrop for new compositions. They have a range of accessories for this. A leather keychain it comes with. Isn't that nice? Embossed with a medieval crest and a beatmaker monk design. This company was founded in 2007, and they've developed a lot of products that reimagine music production by making synthesizers and samplers more kind of kitschy, more accessible, maybe more appealing to some as well. Kind of funny. I mean, if you're gonna, make some medieval music, why not? I'm amused by this. I'm very amused. How about, as we wrap up the show, a little bit of pineapple meth? Hey, this happened in New Zealand. Unfortunately, I mean, I joke, but it could have had serious consequences. This food bank in New Zealand distributed candy made from this potentially lethal amount of methamphetamines. Yeah, it's a charity that was working with homeless people in Auckland. And they didn't realize it, but they were distributing candies filled with this potentially lethal dose of methamphetamines in the food parcels that they were giving out to the homeless. The sweets were donated by a member of the public. So staff started to contact up to 400 people trying to track down all these packets of food that they gave out that could have this pineapple meth in it. The meth, I guess there were solid blocks of meth enclosed in candy wrappers. 3 people were treated at a hospital after consuming them, but were later discharged. The amount of meth in these pineapple candies, up to 300 times the level that someone would usually take and could be lethal, according to the New Zealand Drug Foundation. Yeah, I mean, who would do that? That's so awful. The spokesperson for the New Zealand Drug Foundation said disguising drugs as innocuous goods is a common cross-border smuggling technique, and that more of these candies might have been distributed throughout New Zealand. The sweets had a street value of about $608 per candy, which suggested that the donation by an unknown member of the public was probably accidental rather than a deliberate type of attack. That's what they think anyway. The initial perception is that this episode was likely an importation scheme gone awry. The nature and the scale of this operation not known. They have recovered 29 of these meth pineapple candies, but they don't know how many are out there. That's scary. The city missioner said 8 families, including at least 1 child, reported consuming the contaminated candy since Tuesday, but the revolting taste of it led them to immediately spit it out. So at least there's that. The food bank is supposed to only accept donations of commercially produced food in sealed packaging. These pineapple candies stamped with the label of Malaysian brand Rinda appeared to be that when they were donated, in a retail-sized bag. But they started getting reports in of this funny-tasting candy, so some of the staff tasted it and immediately contacted authorities. 1 staff member had to go to the hospital after tasting the candy. A child and another young person were treated also before being released from the hospital. They think they were donated sometime in the last 6 weeks. So, pretty scary. The food company wants to make it clear that Rinda Food Industries does not use or condone the use of illegal drugs in our products, they say. Yeah. Can you imagine? There's a $608 candy right there. No thanks. Wow. Well, let's go to the chat. That's a methy situation, says John Watson. Accidentally handed them out during Halloween? No. Accidentally handed them out with food bags for the homeless. Yeah. Sandy says that's a methy situation if I ever heard one. Trevor says you don't meth around with pineapple candy. Absolutely not. Wonder what happens when ants eat it. Ants probably would smell it and know it wasn't candy, I would imagine. Ants are kind of smart. Yeah, I don't know. Bring on the dad jokes. Exactly. All right, you guys. It has been a lovely Monday spending it with you. It is Travel Tuesday tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for where we ought to virtually go together, you can email me, kim@theafterparty.live, or kimmcallister@gmail.com with 2 M's, 2 C's, and 2 L's. Another big, big hug to Jim Slayton for a $5 super sticker. Another big, big happy birthday weekend, happy post-birthday weekend, and hug to Wes for a $5 super sticker. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of time on this Monday afternoon, and I'll see you tomorrow on The Mark Thompson Show. It's going to be a good one. It's David K. Johnston coming up. Jefferson Graham also will be there, and then we'll be here for Travel Tuesday on the After Party Live. Have a great rest of your day. Make it a very, very good one. And I will see you on the YouTube Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.